Welcome to Sunday Springboard. Welcome. I always have to say this a few times because I never know when I'm exactly on. But for real, welcome to Sunday Springboard with Melanie and Kimberly Coaching, where we help women recover from and flourish after stress and trauma. If someone asks you to tell them about yourself, what do you talk about? Do you talk about your kids, your grandkids, your husband, your job? Do you ever tell them anything about yourself? Or is it always, do you define yourself by other people? So when I joined Al-Anon many years ago, most of y'all know I was married to an alcoholic at one time. And when I got to, would come into the meeting, people would say, how are you doing? And I would say either, we drank or we didn't drink. And they'd say, no, I want to know, how are you? And I'm like, I just told you how I am. If he drank them good, if he drank them bad, if he didn't drink them good. And they taught me that I had to define myself by me and my own happiness by me, not by someone else. Fast forward a few years later, and I actually ended up, he was locked up for 4 years, and I lived with my parents, and I actually had to find out who Melanie was. I had always been someone's daughter, someone's wife, someone's mother, and now I was none of that. I was just me, and I did not have a clue who I was. I had to spend those 4 years finding out who I was, and I thought it was going to be a very terrible time, but it actually turned out to be a very good experience, a very much of a learning experience, and actually came to know who is Melanie, and what do I like to do, and how do I like to spend my time. So we're going to talk about that today, our different roles that we play. Hang on a minute and let me share my screen. Yeah. Okay. Y'all have seen this picture before. We've been talking for weeks and weeks and weeks about stress and trauma. And remember that trauma is not just one event, but it is what happens in your body when you have day-to-day negative, stressful, painful situations. We've talked about regulating our bodies in the moment. I'm going to give you another little quick breathing exercise right here. I don't think I've done this before. We call this the infinity movement. And y'all remember the infinity symbol like that? Okay, so you can do this. You can just do this when you're in a room with people. If you're slow, nobody's going to even notice you're doing this. And remember, the reason for the breathing is when we get dysregulated, we get triggered. Something happens to make us feel on the edge, or we feel, we feel those feelings that we know that we got triggered. Breathing is a really great way, one of the biggest ways to calm ourselves back down. And it's not just that we're breathing, it actually does things inside our brain to calm us down. Because remember that the brain is pouring out all those hormones. If you don't remember this, please go to my website, KimberlyCoaching.com, and you can watch past videos that I describe in detail what happens biologically to us when we get triggered by stress. So we're triggered in the moment. We want to try to regulate ourselves, and we have different breathing exercises. And I've said before, you pick the ones that work for you. Some don't work, some do, and you get a toolbox so that any given time you can pull one out and try it. If that doesn't work, you've got another one. So this infinity one, you can do it one or two different ways. So just calm yourself a minute, close your eyes if you can. If you're in a bunch of people, of course you can't. And then just move your head slowly in the infinity symbol. So you go down, up, around. As you're doing this, you're just breathing just comfortably in and out. Okay? You just do this a few times, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, however long it takes. Now, that's one way you can do it. You can also do it front to back. You can kind of go this way. Just do, actually, I guess it's more down and up. You're just breathing in and out while you do that. Okay, so this is a good one that like I said, you can do it when you're around people. They're not even going to know what you're doing. Spend a few minutes, let the breathing calm you down. So there's one more tool for you to add to your toolbox. Then we talked about eliminating stressful situations where possible. We looked at our situations, we determined, is this something I can change? Is this something I cannot change? If I cannot change it, then what we have to do is we have to change our reaction to the stress. And we talked about so much of stress is not the circumstances, but it's our reaction to the circumstances. As we're trying to learn to think differently about stress, we've been talking about core disciplines. We talk about becoming aware of what's going on around us, aware of how we're reacting. I might react to something constantly, and until I sit there and think about it, I don't realize I'm reacting to this person because of old things that happened back in my past. Once you become aware of it, you can make changes. But if you're not aware, you just keep running on habit. Once we start becoming aware, we start accepting this is reality. Doesn't mean I like it, doesn't mean I don't want to change it, but this is what it is right now. Once we do that, we can start making conscious choices of how to react, how do we respond, rather than just reacting in the moment. We choose, and then once we make these choices, we have to trust the process. These things that we're doing in our lives, these changes that we're making, don't happen overnight. They take a while. And so as we work through the process, we've made a decision, we're going a certain way, we're doing a program, whatever it is we're doing, we're not going to jump around. I don't know about you, but like, I've done the diet thing, this diet, that diet. We do different things and they don't work and we switch around. So when we've made this conscious choice, let's stick with it for a while, give it a chance to work, and we may have to tweak it as we go. Then we've been talking about authenticity, and that's where we are today. If I'm trying to be someone else, if I'm looking at that person trying to be them or that person, that is very, very stressful. One way to reduce stress is to learn who I am, accept who I am, and be me. So we talked about that the last couple of weeks, about how to have self-mastery, and that's what we talked about. Find out who we are, accept it, and then give our gift to the world. We're still last week we did an exercise called Who Am I? We're actually continuing that exercise today. The second part of it is called Who Are You Being Now? Last week I gave you a link where you can fill out a form and download a PDF of this exercise where it's actually fillable online, or you can print it and fill it out. And it has the questions and has places for you to answer them. It also puts you in my email list. I only send one email a week. Try to keep you up with what's going on, and just keep in touch. Today's exercise is at the back of that PDF. So there's only one PDF with both exercises. I put the link in the show notes today also. So if you didn't get it last week, you can get it today. So who are you being now? We're talking about the roles. So we're going to look at 5 things today. What roles do you play in your life? Are you a mother? Are you a daughter? A wife? An employer? An employee? A dog mom? Well, what are the different roles that you play? And then which of these roles allow your true self to shine? Who do you feel comfortable being you in those roles? And then what about any changes that you want to make? Just because we accept ourselves doesn't mean we don't want to change things. Sometimes we do. And then what if your life is not conducive to you being authentic? What if you don't feel comfortable being yourself in one of the different roles that you play? And then how do we inspire others as we're learning to be authentic? Start off with who are you being now? So make a list of all the roles that you play right now. Like I said, maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're a mother, maybe you're a church minister or a church member, maybe you're a daughter, a wife, whatever the roles are. Make a list of all the different roles, all the different things you play. Maybe you're PTA president. I don't know, all these roles. Make a list of them, and then go through them and look at them and put a star next to the roles in which you believe your true self shines. Now, just like last week, I'm not going to leave you enough time in this process to write these down now. You're going to either need to watch this again later and write your answers down, or these questions are also in that PDF that you can get you can download it by clicking the link in the show notes. So after you put a star by the ones you think these are really you, you feel good in these, you feel satisfied, you feel powerful and confident. Now put an X in the roles where you believe your true self hides. Maybe when you go to work, you don't feel like you can be your true self, or maybe when you go to church, you can't be your true self, or maybe you're in a relationship and maybe it's an abusive relationship and you truly can't be yourself because you're having to go along to get along, to make that person not get upset with you and make your life miserable. So look at these and put an X by the ones where you do not feel like you can be yourself. These are the areas that are causing you a lot of stress. Now, for the areas where you do feel like your true self shines, this is who you are. For me, the role of being a life coach, I feel passionate. I feel like I can shine. I feel like I'm truly who I am. How can I do that more? What about you? Who do you really, when you're a mother, when you're whatever, a coach, whatever it is you are, when you can truly be yourself, then think about how can you do this more often? How can you just enjoy it more and be more who you are? How can you just make that happen more? Then in the roles where you're not comfortable being yourself, look at those roles and see what is it about that role that is stopping you. What is it that makes you feel uncomfortable? Are you worried about what other people are thinking? Are you worried about what's going to happen at work? Are you worried about losing your job? I mean, some of these things could be a real fear. If I do this, if I'm really me, I will lose my job. Or some of these things could be just, if I'm really me, that person's not going to approve of me. So some of these things are a little more emotional. Some of them can be actual physical fears that we have. Go through those and figure out what in them is holding you back. And then, can you do something about it? Do you want to do something about it? Do you just accept it? Now, just because we know who we are, we accept ourselves, that doesn't mean we don't necessarily want to make some changes, especially as we're looking at these different roles. Remember that we always want to make just tiny changes at a time. Our brain cannot handle big changes. Our brain will react, will be defensive, it'll start shutting you down if you try to make big changes all at once. So we're just going to talk about what are some few little changes that you might want to make so that when you're in these roles, you can be more yourself, be more your potential, reach your potential. Maybe some of these roles you didn't even realize how you were being in them, and maybe you can be more powerful in them. As you try to think about what you want to change, what is one specific thing you can do? Write it down, commit to doing it, and then later on record the result. Now, if you need some accountability, you can do it here, you can do it in the comments, you can write it down and share it with us, then you can come back later and share with us your results. Or obviously working with a coach is great accountability. If you need, would like to have more one-on-one help with any of this, I would love to talk with you to see whether we could have a relationship, a coaching relationship. There's a link in the show notes also below the PDF one where you can schedule a free coaching session with me, and we can talk and see whether you believe that a coaching relationship will be helpful to you. What if there's a change in your character you want to change? Maybe I have a temper, a bad temper, and I get angry too often. I blow up too often. I don't want to do that so much. So first of all, think about it. What causes you to do this? What are the triggers? Now, someone can't trigger you if you don't already have the button, but still, what is it? What situations cause you to fly off the handle? What is the thinking that is going in your head when that trigger happens? Now, you may not be aware of that because you've done this for so many years. It feels automatic, but there is a thought going on in your head at that point. Notice it, notice the trigger, then identify a behavior that you could do instead of the one you don't want. Instead of blowing up, I don't know, sing a little song in your head. Leave the situation. I don't know. Think of a behavior. This is where talking with someone can help you work out these options. Identify a behavior that you can do instead of the one you don't like, then create a strategy to start practicing this, to start being very conscious when this trigger happens. And remember that trust the process thing. These things don't change overnight. You have to work with them, and you're not going to always do them perfectly well. Once you kind of work that through with one, then you can start making a list of the behaviors that you want to change and work on a plan to just little by little start making changes that you want to make in yourself. Now, some things to think about as we're kind of wrapping up here in a minute. Think about, remember like last week we made some I am statements. I am, we talked about our values, and then we, and also the value exercise is another one you can download. If you can just go to the website, KimberlinCoaching.com, click on the resources tab, and there's a form there you can fill out, and you can download the free values assessment. When you pick your values, you pick the ones that are important to you, then we said I am according to these values. So I am health, I am connection. And think about all the insights that you've gained these last few weeks, thinking about who you are and what's important to you. What is the gift that you have to offer the world? Yours is uniquely yours. No one else has the same gift, the same thing to offer the world that you do. No one has the same story. No one has the same gifts, talents, skills, flaws. Sometimes our flaws are the things that help other people relate to us. If you're doubting yourself, if you're thinking, oh, I don't really have anything to offer the world, no one's going to want what I have, I don't have anything good to say, what is causing you to think this way? What is preventing you from fully accepting yourself? If you're feeling this way, I think you need to do some work on this so that you can say, you know, I'm not perfect and never will be. And in fact, my flaws are what make me appealing, but I still have something I can give to the world. How can you share your true gift? We talk about our gifts and our talents, but our true gift is ourselves. As a Christian, by giving ourselves, we are actually showing the world Christ and God's love. But our gift of ourselves, how can we share that with the world? Complete this sentence in as many ways as you can. I can share the gift that I am by what? Singing, by speaking, by giving, by serving, listening. So many different ways that we can share ourselves with the world. Think about this. How well do you currently bring who you are in everything you do? Are you somebody here and somebody else here and somebody else over here? Or are you the same all the way through? Remember when I first started all this recovery business 30 years ago, I really felt like if people knew who I really was, they wouldn't like me. And then I started letting people know who I was, and surprise, they still liked me. And so now what you see is what you get. I don't worry anymore that if you really knew me, you wouldn't like me. If you have that feeling, if you really knew me, you wouldn't like me, that causes a lot of stress. All of these things here, when we don't accept ourselves, we're trying to be something that we're not, this causes stress. So the more we can accept who we are, even though we're still working on ourselves always to become better, this helps release the stress. How well are you being who you are in everything you do? And what about when you have a life circumstances? We mentioned this a little at the first. What about when the actual circumstances of your life make it hard for you to be authentic? You don't feel comfortable being who you are. You feel like you have to put a mask on when you go somewhere else. You actually truly play a role. You put on yourself to be, maybe it's your job, maybe it's your relationship, maybe you have a group of friends who you feel like you have to be a certain way with them, or maybe when you go to church, you don't feel comfortable being yourself. Think about this and think about how can you be more authentic in these situations? Is it just a matter of being brave? Is it something where you're worried about other people aren't going to approve of you? Or is it where you're worried about something actually bad will happen to you? Maybe you're afraid at work that you would lose your job, or you're afraid that your husband is going to be abusive to you, or is it just that your friends aren't going to like you as well? It feels painful, but it's not as scary as some of the others. So what is keeping you from being yourself in these situations, and then figure out, are these situations I can change? Are these situations I need to leave? What can I do about these situations? We talked last week about having self-mastery, being masterfully ourselves. We're always searching to be our best. We're searching for excellence, not perfection. And each one of us is our own unique, once in all of history, unique self. We're like snowflakes. Our fingerprints are different. Nobody has the same set of fingerprints. Nobody has the same set of DNA, the same set of the story, the talents, the gifts. No one is you but you. And no one can give your gifts to the world except you. As you walk to your own beat, your own drummer beat, we talk about how can we inspire people. We inspire people by being ourselves. When we are who we are, unapologetically, transparently, we show our weaknesses, we show our strengths, we inspire other people to be able to do the same. Anytime that I have shared a weakness, a flaw, a fear with people, I notice that they always can share something back with me. When so many times we want to present this perfect face, this perfect mask of these people. I want you to think I'm doing everything perfectly, but when I do that, that mask actually becomes a wall. And it makes you feel uncomfortable toward me. I know, because that's the way I feel. If I'm around someone that seems perfect, I don't feel comfortable sharing who I am with them. I'm going to probably put on my little mask then too. We become aware of that when we're doing it, and then we can decide, do I want to put the mask on or not? Once we become aware of things, we make conscious decisions. So when we're being ourselves, trying to be someone else, we have high energy. You know this. Remember, think about the times when you're doing something you really love, you're really being you feel energetic. And when you're around people who are being truly, authentically themselves, not worried about what other people are thinking, they're just being themselves. They have an energy, and this energy attracts us to them and blesses us. And we can do that with the world also. We can attract people to us, the right kind of people to us, and we can bless the people around us when we have this kind of energy. When we are being masterfully us, when we're having this energy, instead of the hard work to try to be someone we're not. But when we find out who we are, and that sometimes can take a little bit of work to find it, but then once we find it, we're ourselves. We just enjoy life. Whatever it is we're doing, we're performing, we're living, we are an effortless work of art. We are beauty. All right, summing this up. Think about the roles you play in your life. Which of your roles are you allowing yourself to shine in them? Which are you hiding your true self in? Are there any changes you want to make in your life? What if your life is not conducive to being authentic? What can you do then? And how can you inspire others by being truly you? Remember the links in the show notes. Get the exercises, do the exercises if you want some help. Get the links, schedule a session. Meanwhile, I hope you have a great week of being who you are and enjoying who you are. See you later.